Hey everybody, welcome back to CALLOUS Invitational 7. Very deep in the tournament, the 7th round at this point. Only 6 players remaining in the tour at the start of this round. Let me get the donation stuff out of the way real quick. Let's do that so I don't have to interrupt the match itself. I just want to let you guys know that because of you and your generosity, this is the highest paying CALLOUS Invitational ever. We broke last year's record. We're paying out over $2,700 in this tournament, including half of that to the winner. And the donations are still open. They're going to remain open until the conclusion of the tournament. So at this point, it's just gravy, trying to set the bar as high as possible for whoever's going to come after me and do the next ADV Invitational or whatever it's going to be called. Can we hit 3,000? Can we give them a really high bar to try to break one day? That's up to you guys. But no matter what at this point, it is the highest paying CI ever, and I'm very happy with it. Great way to go out. Really, really appreciate you guys donating. Let's get back to the matter at hand. It is Rob and it is Fakes. It is the top 6, round 7, like I said, of CI7. It is a lower bracket match, meaning it is an elimination game. And let's get it on. So Rob is going to be on the bottom, and Fakes is going to be on the top. Salamence lead and Titar lead, respectively. Every time I see this matchup, I say the same thing. They threaten each other. You might see things like CB Brick Break, Rock Slide, Ice Beam, Thunder Wave. Usually what happens is what happened here, where neither one is comfortable with it, and they both switch. So we end up, after some switcheroony action here, with Fori on Skarm, and they both manage to establish a lair. Titar here is probably some kind of Pursuitar, since it is paired with Fori here. Probably has something like Fire Blast to threaten the Skarm. Or Thunder. Okay. Well, that works. That would have threatened the Skarm all the same, and it also happens to be super effective against Milo, and it gave him an opportunity there to crit or para the Milo, both of which would have been really good for Rob, but neither one did happen, and Milo does safely manage to get a recover off here. So Zapdos comes in to at least force the Milotic out, and Claydol comes in for Fakes. Thunderbolt obviously blanked by the ground typing here. See if he just immediately spins. Might be punished for doing so. And that is what happens. He spins, but in doing so, you open yourself up to Toxic or Hidden Power or what have you, and it did end up being Toxic from Zapdos. Titar reappears for Fakes, comes in, takes T-Bolt. Not a bad chunk, a little bit better than third. Titar, we see, does have lefties. And now Swampert comes in. Seems pretty standard so far. But that is also caught with a Toxic. Fair enough, 1 poke Toxic per team. The Swampert and the Claydol, respectively. Milo, very safe switch into Swampert. And Rob, perhaps anticipating that, manages to get Fori in. Rob currently losing the Spikes War, but maybe he'll change that now with a spin, or maybe he's going to reestablish his own. And he thinks it's more important to reestablish his own, so 1 layer pop. He could spin here, but the Fori would go out of the green to do so. But he thinks it's worth it. So Fori going to go down to 41% after lefties, and he does get the rapid spin off. So Rob with the 1-0 Spikes advantage. And the full team for Rob now revealed. So Blissey is the last poke. And in fact, Fakes very well on this team. May have a Blissey as well. A very common last 2 on this team. An old team. A very well-known team. Would be Blissey and Dugtrio. But it could be like Blissey Arrow, Blissey Ment, something to that effect. Traditionally, it's Blissey Doug. And the Blissey there is not surprising at all. So there's Thunderbolt, which, whatever, 18%. Zapdos probably going to have to get out of here for Rob. Like I said, traditionally the last poke is Doug on this team, but could be Arrow or something a little bit aggro like that. That is a good turn, and obviously lucky for Fakes. Going to catch him with an Ice Beam, gonna find a freeze. We end up Tar on Tar, and Rob attempts to thaw out, which I don't blame him for, but still stuck on ice as it stands. Goes to Swampert now. Comes in on EQ, sure. Going to leave him at about 2/3, but as we know, the Toxic gets worse every turn. Skarm's going to come in, and that also has Toxic. Are we looking at a Mono Pert, perhaps? If it is Mono Pert, he chose not to refresh there, which is a little bit awkward. I would have thought that was a pretty clear refresh turn if you've got it, but he's prioritizing the Spike War, and I guess I don't blame him. It is Doug last for Fakes, but it doesn't kill Fori here without a crit. But he's going to go for it anyway, and like I said, he comes up well short, and he's going to be met with a counter that is not going to come up well short, and Dugtrio is down. So Spikes and Mon's advantage for Rob. So he's ahead on paper, but a lot of his stuff is actually fairly banged up. This half-health poisoned Swampert, the poisoned Zapdos from before, 22% Fori. I don't actually know if Rob is winning this game. He's winning on paper, but I don't know that he's actually winning. It seems fairly close to me. Swampert there, again, didn't click refresh when I feel like it was really obvious. So if that is a Mono Pert, I think what must be happening here is it's got Toxic, Surf, Protect, just like every Mono Pert, but instead of last move refresh, he's opting for last move roar, which does make sense to me on a 4 team where you've got Spikes and you want to really take advantage of that, especially if nobody else has roar. Now, granted, all of Salamence, Cheetar, Zapdos can learn roar, but if for whatever reason none of them have it, perhaps Swampert has roar, and that's why he hasn't refreshed. He might genuinely not have it, even though it's a Mono Pert. Fakes got a crit there with EQ, and made it so Rob will not even have the chance to try to thaw again. Just like that, we've got ourselves an even game. Dragon Claw there on the Skarm, but almost certainly on a Mixed Mance, which we see that this is now. He's going to have a Fire attack, but he's going to go to 4, trying to come in on a Protect turn, and he does so successfully, so that was good for Rob. He is up a Spike at the moment. Here's Bliss. And make that 2 spikes. Fair enough. So Rob has certainly prioritized trying to win the Spikes war in this game. Anytime Claydol comes in, it can spin. There is no Ghost to block it, but it's also poisoned, and depending on what's on the other side, it might eat something like an HP Bug, a Surf, an HP Grass, an Ice Beam. Most or all of the things from Rob can punish the Claydol in some way. So Fakes really has to pick his spots to try to get a rapid spin off. And the CM Bliss might have been something of a threat if the Blissey, as with seemingly the whole damn team for Rob, didn't also have Toxic. But just like the Swampert, just like the Zapdos, Blissey 2 packing Toxic. And Toxic Bliss, a great counter to CM Bliss. Out of the way it goes. Fori coming in at this point. Sure, there's a spike, but nothing in the world preventing Rob from spinning that away, which he almost certainly will do. Milo comes in. That's interesting. That's not what I would have thought the Fori Punishmon would have been, but here you go. It's a Milo. Probably just goes for a cover here. And Rob is going to go to Bliss. Not clear why the Milotic came in or what that was, what the intention was behind that play, but Milo came in, got unhealthy, recovered, became healthy again, and here we are. And Rob fishing for a freeze, which he gets. So both players have been the beneficiary of lucky freezes. It was T-Tower being frozen for Rob earlier, and it never did thaw. And now it's Milotic frozen, and Rob is going to try to immediately punish that with the Zapdos, but it's probably just going to be met by the Doll or the Bliss. Fakes covers Zapdos pretty well on this squad, and he's going to opt for the Blissey. And Hidden Power there clearly must have been anticipating Claydol. So something I don't really like about Fakes' team, and when I say Fakes' team, I mean the team that Fakes is using. He didn't make this team. This is an old, very known, very common kind of archetype, but something I don't like about it is that it really doesn't have a proper win condition. You're relying on Spikes, Toxic, and Dugtrio to do the dirty work, which has just never really been my cup of tea. And I look at the game state now, and it's the same deal. It's like, I mean, Fakes is very good at not losing. He's very resilient. But, like, how do you win? And I mean, to a lesser extent, Rob kind of has the same problem. I mean, at least he has a Mixed Ments and a Zapdos that, I mean, they're not proper win conditions, but, like, at least they're moving the game forward. At least they're trying to win. But they're not really win conditions, and as it happens, like, Fakes has those really well covered. Milo is, like, arguably the best Mixed Ments counter in the game. It's certainly up there. And then with a strictly special Zapdos that also seemingly doesn't have rest, Blissey's going to cover that all day. So the Ments and the Zapdos are largely blanked by Fakes' team. So it's kind of hard to envision Rob winning as well. I'm not actually sure who's winning this game. It's been back and forth to me at various points. I felt like both guys are a little bit ahead, but I'm really not clear who wins this game. It looks like both of them could have trouble actually winning, actually closing out the game, just given the teams that they brought and given the kind of matchup that it is. And this also has the potential to get kind of long, unfortunately, but we'll see how it plays out. This Bliss should be deterred. He goes for Soft Boil this turn, but certainly with the second Calm Mind, Toxic is going to be obligatory here. It's going to be soon to follow. And there it is. And the punishment is 21 big ones from Ice Beam. It's another freeze, though, which is mildly relevant. It's awkward to switch into +2 Bliss, so he might be obligated to stay in here, which gives the Claydol an opportunity. Yeah, that was a weird turn. Like, Rob doesn't want to switch something into a +2 Bliss there, because anything would just get smacked. But if you stay in to try to tank the Bliss and try to thaw, you run into this issue where the Claydol gets to spin for free. So it's not fantastic for Rob either way, but I mean, at least the freeze was on Blissey rather than something that doesn't have Natural Cure. But yeah, the spin there definitely mattered. And now it puts Rob in an awkward position again. He can reestablish those spikes if he wants, but every time he does that, he gives the Milotic opportunity to thaw. I personally would stay in and at least rapid spin, but probably spike up as well. And if the Milo thaws, the Milo thaws. Really, if you're going to try to take advantage of the Milo thawing, you need to do so with the Mixed Ments, because that's the thing that Milo is countering. That's your threat that, in theory, does damage if the Milo never thaws. But all of that is out the window. It has thawed, and Rob has established all 3 layers of spikes again, in exchange for the Fori going down to just about 30%. So back to Bliss at this point. Toxic, there has been a whole lot of that in this game. Lots of stuff flinging Toxic at other stuff. T-Tar and Milo have it for Fakes. Zapdos, Blissey, Swampert have it for Rob. Yeah, like literally almost half the Mons in the game. One short of it being literally true. Half the Mons in the game have Toxic. Hidden Power there for some punishment, but the Rapid Spin does get off. Like I said, this is a non-rest Zapdos, so the Toxic very relevant. It is very much on its last legs at 17%. And here comes Fori. Interesting to go to Fori there. Had Claydol gone for Boom, actually, which it didn't, that would have mean that Fakes wins the Spikes War, because he would have taken the Fori with him, and then any spikes that Fakes makes subsequently, Rob couldn't remove. So I don't know that I love the Fori switch there, since I think Boom was such a real possibility, but not the way it played out. But yeah, as back and forth as this game has been, I think I like Fakes to win, actually, because everything for Rob at this point is just so poisoned and can't remove it. Everything's been so chipped down, and Rob doesn't really have win conditions. Salamence is never getting through the 100% Milo. The Zapdos wasn't really a threat to begin with because of the Bliss, but it's one attack from just about anything, from also going down, and it's poisoned. I just don't see win conditions for Rob. That's the problem that I'm having. So I think Fakes has managed to grind him out. I don't think the Toxic on the Milo matters here. I think it's going to have Refresh. Yeah, it might take a minute, but I think Fakes has this one. I have a real hard time seeing how Rob wins the game. Maybe if he reestablishes the spikes again, forces Doll in, and that's gonna get some kind of meaningful attack off on the Doll, possibly involving predicting the Doll coming in the first place and hitting it with something. That's just about the only damn path that I see. And there's the pullback to Fori. See if he wants to stay in and eat a surf to get Allaire down here. He might get out of the way. He might slowly but surely try to lefties it up, which does seem to be what he's going for here. And Blissey comes in, unwilling to let the Fori take a surf given its current HP. It's an obvious soft-boiled turn coming. And the punishment, of course, is just going to be Toxic. Toxic has been the theme of this game. Still 5-5, so on paper it's close, but I think my opinion has shifted to where I really like Fakes' position more. I did not get to catch these matches live when they happened, so I haven't seen any of the games in this series, so I don't know any more than you do how this is all going to play out. Like I said, at various points I've thought it was kind of back and forth, but okay, just kidding. Gonna say, but we don't know how it's going to end. I guess we do know how it's going to end. That's going to be a concession from Rob, and I don't actually know that was premature. I know he's got 4 pokes left, but Swampert at 24% and Poison, Blissey just not a win condition. Fori's at half and it's not really a win condition either. I mean, spikes are good, but like, is it really enough? And then Immense, it's like never really going to get through the Milo, who's sitting here at almost full health on the other side. I don't know. I don't actually think that was premature. I don't know that Rob could have gotten through this. I think that was a legit concession. So it's going to be Fakes up a game, and as you guys know, we are still in the best of 3 stages. We're getting damn close to the best of 5, but we're not there yet. And Rob is going to need to rattle off 2 in a row, and Fakes will have 2 opportunities to close him out. If Rob loses here, or if Fakes loses here, either or, that'll mean a top 6 finish for them, which is very respectable. But nevertheless, it will be short of the money. Only the top 3 players, as most of you watching this know, are going to get paid in this tournament. So here we go. It's going to be the second game, with Rob on the bottom for continuity and Fakes on the top, and we have the exact same lead matchup that we had last game. Salamence and T-Tar respectively. But just like before, neither one is comfortable with it. They both switch. We end up with Skarmory on Milotic. So Fakes has brought Milotic twice into Salamence, much to the annoyance of Rob, I would assume. And a critical hit Surf is going to kick off the action, favoring Fakes. But of course the 1-layer Spikes does get down. And Rob has opted for Jirachi this game. Fakes manages to get Skarman. Not sure if he's going to deem it worth it to eat something like a Thunderbolt or a Fire Punch to establish the Spikes. And the answer is yes, he does think it's worth it. Kind of surprised that Rob didn't attack there, but last game he prioritized winning the Spike War above all else, and seemingly that's what he's going to do again. He's going to go Skarm into Skarm, and he's going to taunt his counterpart. Going to get a second layer down, so 2-1, favoring Rob, as T-Tar reappears. Toxic's a good turn. Oh wow, a Toxic back. That's a really good turn for Rob. Gets the Toxic on the tower for free as Fakes over-predicts. Claydol comes in. This is looking remarkably similar to the team from last game that Fakes brought, which was Bliss Doug in the back. And knowing Fakes, it would not surprise me at all if he prepped 0 and loaded up the same team twice. Pretty big middle finger to Rob. Who needs prep? Who needs different teams? I'm just going to bring the same shit and beat you. I'm just going to outplay you. And I guess you can't knock it if it works. Fakes is up a game, but he has seemingly loaded up the same team yet again. If it is the same team, then as you may recall, it would be a Dugtrio in the back as the last poke for fakes. Rob has loaded up a different team, and it includes a Swampert. Comes in, takes an Ice Beam, and is going to go for Earthquake, blanking on Skarm, who is presumably gonna get another lair down this turn. And that's indeed what happens. In exchange for doing so, gonna eat a 44% Hydro Pump. Not bad at all. And we end up Skarm on Skarm again. Toxic, blanking. And Rob has managed to nurse back from that early critical hit pretty well. His Skarm is pretty healthy. Does not bother taunting here, just in case there's a switch. And it ends up being a fair exchange of Spike. 3 layers to 2 at the moment. Probably going to be 3 to 3 momentarily. The question is, does Rob have a way to remove the spikes that Fakes has been setting? We know that Fakes can. And here is the Claydol. Gengar coming in to try to block Rapid Spin. But Fakes all over that. Psychics into an unrevealed Gengar like the champ that he is. Great play, and makes it really awkward for Rob, who now switches out of the way. But Fakes switches too. So I guess the Gengar kind of sort of achieved its goal, and that it did in fact prevent Rapid Spin from removing the spikes, but Gengar's also half dead now. And Rachi comes in to an unwelcome critical hit, leaves him at about half. Oh, he's got Wish though, so not so bad. So the question is, does he keep it for himself, or does he try to pass that to Gengar or to Swampert? Any of the above. And the answer is Rob wants to keep it for himself. So he's going to burn the Bliss with Serene Grace, and he's going to eat his own Wish. But yet again, more freeze shenanigans, just like the previous game. This time, Jirachi is the victim for Rob Jr. He's got to remember that there's a Dugtrio in the back probably, so the opportunities to thaw kind of limited here. Wouldn't push it too much if I were Rob. He's going to stay in and go for it here, but he doesn't thaw and Rapid Spin gets off, and this has taken a bad turn for Rob. This game felt pretty close and pretty even until that freeze, and now all of a sudden with the freeze and with the Rapid Spin and the refresh, wow, devastating couple turns in a row. The freeze was bad, the spin was bad, the refresh was bad. Things were just fine until they weren't. Now I definitely prefer Fakes' position over Rob's. I thought it was close until that freeze, and things have gone downhill very, very quickly for Rob Jr. He does still have an unrevealed in the back, so maybe he can spin these spikes away, but if it's not a spinner in the back, it's hard not to like Fakes' position, especially given that the Jirachi is still frozen. And here it is. Thunderbolt is whatever, but the problem is if you try to thaw here, if you don't thaw, you get eaten by Dugtrio immediately. And there it is. Thaw? Nope. And that's a dead Jirachi. That is rough. That freeze has led to the Jirachi outright dying here. And there's no way that the Jirachi was faster than the Dugtrio here, so that must have been an attempted protect. But he simply never thaws, and things have really taken a turn. I thought this was close. That freeze changed the game in a big way. Not saying Rob can't win. We haven't even seen his last poke, so not going to call it over until we know what we're dealing with here. If it's something like a DD Tower or just any kind of setup mon, it can always just get there. DD Tower probably the ideal thing in this situation, but clearly Fakes is ahead after that sequence with the freeze, with the spin, with the refresh. Just devastatingly bad turns for Rob. Spike's coming down, so Rob is reestablishing layers, but oh, he just feels so far behind now. That freeze changed everything. Spikes and Thunderbolt, so he gives up the Skarm in exchange for getting those 3 layers down. What's the plan? Do you have a setup mon in the back, Rob Jr.? Do you have a DD Tower or something like that? Are we going all in on aggro? We're putting the spikes down and we're going for the sweep? Is that the plan? I can't think of too many other plans. Maybe Rob himself can go for a freeze. Milo's pretty safe here. It's going to get a recover off. And the punishment is going to be Gengar. We going for Hypnosis here? We going for a Thunderbolt crit? What's our play? T-Tar is the switch in for fakes. And it's just a Thunderbolt for 24%. Maybe if Rob even stays here, he can fish for a crit, but it's not great. He goes back to Mence, gets a potentially relevant Intimidate off. But even with Intimidate, that Rock Slide does 69 giggity %. Still hits pretty damn hard. Well, the Tar is down, so Rob is on the board, but can't help but feel like Fakes is still quite a ways ahead. The only thing the Mence should be able to do to this stall, worst case, is probably a Hydro Pump, but it might not even have that. Might just have like Hidden Power Grass. But Rob outpredicts him this time. He gets the T-Tar in on Psychic. That was a good turn for Rob. Need a little bit more of that to crawl back into the game. Now he goes to Gar. And he outpredicts him again. He blocks the Rapid Spin. 2 good turns in a row for Rob. There you go. Little more of that, baby. And he Ice Punches now. But Fakes catches on and goes for the Psychic. And that is why I like Giga Drain so much on Gengar. It would have made such a difference there. Had he got just a little bit of health back from the Giga Drain there, it would have made the world of difference. It would have kept him alive against the Claydol there. And yeah, would have kept him alive and could have been a different game. But now as it stands, I don't know. I mean, the spikes are still down, but I don't know how Rob wins. Maybe if it's a DD Tar. It hasn't shown anything yet. I think that's really the only way for Rob at this point. The Mence will never get through my Milotic, nor will the Swampert, so the T-Tar is going to have to get there. And it's going to have to get there through a Milo, a Claydol, and a Dugtrio. Roar is going to prompt out the Dougie at least, so it's unclear if Rob here is going to play around a Rock Slide, or if he's going to risk switching something into what could be an Earthquake. It is Rock Slide, so I think if you're Rob here, you go to T-Tar, you click DD, and you just go for it. I think it's the only way out. Oh no, it's not even a DD Tar. It's Pursuit Tar, which makes plenty of sense with that set of Jirachi and with Salamence. I get why it's a Pursuit Tar, but that is not the set that he needs. That's not going to get through Milotic. And neither is Swampert. He's just going to lose to Milo. That crit is going to seal it. That takes away the very, very small window that Rob had where he Ice Beam freezes him here. Thunderbolt crits him here. He had one turn to BS out the Milo and then maybe get there. But the Surf is going to close that window completely shut. Crit takes it. That's it. And Rob can't win anymore, and he knows it, and he's going to concede. So Fakes, lame as he is for bringing the same team twice in a row, you can't knock what works, and he's going to get the 2-0 victory over Rob Jr., and he's going to be in the top 4 of this tournament, just one match away from the money. The other match in real time already played, so we do in real time know who those top 4 players are. That video is also going to be up very close to this video on YouTube, and I won't spoil it, so go check out the Sadly Seus versus Mana match, and once you do that, we will know all 4 of the players still alive in this tournament. We are very deep and very close to the money at this point, so stay tuned, enjoy the ride. The big money matches are coming up. I remind you once again that donations are still open and will remain open until the conclusion of the tournament. So let's keep building that pot on up and go out with a bang. But we are damn near the end, and the best matches are yet to come. Stay tuned to CALLOUS Invitational 7. Thank you for watching.